try that same kind of thing. I'm gonna drive people crazy again. But this time I'm gonna start to do it on D, that same kind of rhythm. I'm just gonna do the rhythm pattern and in D minor, so it's in this collection of notes. And then I'm thinking, when I start to analyze, if I get there, then I want to start to think about C and look at C from our normal pattern, but also compare it to C, because under the normal pattern it's C major, and normally I'm looking at it at C mixolydian and minor. So now I'll think about, okay, what if I want to look at the same kind of thing, but we want to see it as major, but then flat the 7 and think about the flattened third as something that we smear, which is possibly the most likely thing that most people think about, because the traditional way to think about it was just major and minor, whereas now I think it's more specific. You could possibly jump into more weeds by thinking of it modally, like so that's what so then I'm going to think of C, which is cool because it doesn't have an open note, but we could see what kind of open strings we could take advantage of doing the same thing with it. And then I mapped out these two other ones. So this is C minor collection of notes, and this is the C mixolydian, if I mapped them out correctly, collection of notes. So I'm thinking maybe that's what I'll kind of analyze afterwards. Now, hopefully, I was going to tape my finger up because my fingers, and I didn't do that, so I'm not sure if this is going to cause pain. But for now, I'm going to be on Dorian. So I'm going to do the same thing with the Dorian, which is just this note. I'm just going to noodle around the same collection of notes with that same pattern, but this time with Dorian, which means I have two open Dorians here when I noodle on it, and then underneath it I have obviously so same pattern, and then I'll kind of move it between Dorian and mixolydian, meaning Dorian this is a minor third away. I can kind of push it up to like a major third. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking. I might deviate from that, but that's just my warm-up. At another D. I can't really get those two strings quite as neat. It's another D up here. Trying to see what would happen if I open up the open string with that same pattern. Just trying to get a rhythm like that. You say that doesn't sound good. Well, yeah, I'm just playing with it until it sounds good. Until I can find something I like. I'm on the B. Trying to do the same thing, but it's not working. G. So I really need some tape on my poor thumb, but that's okay. I don't know where it is. I don't know where my tape is. That's okay. All right. So what was I? I'm thinking today that I'm gonna move on to the Ionian because I kind of think that would be interesting to look at because then I've mapped out the three ways that we can see like this bluesy progression from the perspective of a C, which would be C major, which I haven't really actually been looking at because I've been looking at it mainly from C Mixolydian. Major is different from the Mixolydian because it has a major 7 instead of a minor 7. So I can kind of compare three shapes I'm thinking of doing like the same thing, but I'm comparing the C major shape, and then I'm kind of going between C major and then the C minor shape here. So this would be the Aeolian is now the C, because that's the standard thing to do. Although I think it almost is more proper from a modal standpoint to say I'd kind of like to go to the Dorian shape, but we'll go to the minor shape. And then I'm going to go then to the Mixolydian shape where we have the C. So this is the other major shape that already has the flat 7. So I can kind of think about how those three shapes kind of fit together and work on those three shapes as I'm doing kind of the same thing, which I think is useful because it helps me to look at the movement of the guitar through the shapes, even though I'm kind of doing the same thing, and then kind of think about the measurements from each of those points from those different shapes. And then it'll kind of lead me, I think, into doing different things, noodling around with different things. And then I can also kind of explore, like, it's kind of funny because the C, like, you would think they would have tuned the guitar to C major, because that's what the piano's tuned to, right? Which they kind of did. It's kind of like the collection of notes that's in the key of C, but it seems like there's no open C, which seems kind of odd. So you would think maybe, I would think the guitar is tuned more to prefer like the E, because there's two open E's, or the A. So still the same collection of notes, but it's almost tuned to Phrygian or to to Aeolian. It seems like maybe I don't know exactly why exactly. Maybe that's because the guitar wasn't. I'm just spitballing here, but maybe if you're thinking about it as a classical instrument, like you're not supposed to just hang out on the tonic like that, right? So maybe the fact that the D is not in the open allows you to kind of noodle around and then do the half. Like you know what? It probably is, now that I think about it. Correct me if there's any musicians out there that have thought about this at in a school or something. I would think that, like, now that I'm thinking about it, the reason you don't want a C on the nut here is because the whole point of the major scale is the half step. It's the half step to go home, right? You want that beautiful half step. And if you have the C on the nut, you can't get behind it to do the half step, right? So that's why they have a C here to get that beautiful half step. Right? They want the half step. So you can't, that's probably why. Tell me if I've never heard this before. I watch music theory stuff, not like all the time, but I try to learn stuff. I've never heard anyone say that explanation, but I feel like that makes sense to me. So if anybody wants to confirm that, if Ara was here, I'd ask Ara. I almost want to ask Ara right here, right now. I'm gonna see if Ara would. This is something Ara would know. Ara could tell us this one. Let me check it out before I go to the joke. Ara.
That's me. What's up?
Hey, I'm trying to think like why the guitar doesn't have an open C string when you would think that they would tune it to C, because that's like the piano and they're like copying the piano, And I came up to this idea that, like, you don't want the open C on the nut because you want that beautiful half step leading into the C, and you can't get the half step if you put the C on the nut, because you can't get behind the C to do the half step from the C from the 7 to the 1. Is that right? Oh, I lost her. Ara. Ara. Dude. Let me try it again. Let's see. Ara. Ara.
Hey.
Okay. You like died for a second, but you're back. Your heart stopped, but I've revived you. Okay. So now, okay. I'm trying to think, like, if you have the collection of notes around the key of C, like why they didn't tune the guitar to the C to have an open C. And my theory is that they didn't want the C on the nut because if you're in a major scale, like the C is typically played, the major is the main one they're thinking about, you want the half step to lead into the C. So you couldn't put the C on the nut because you wouldn't have a half step to lead into it. Is that why they did it?
Ah, interesting guess. Actually, guitars are tuned to standard E for a few reasons. C-based tunings, like open C, exist, like in folk or slide guitar, but standard tuning prioritizes versatility across genres, not just C major. The half step thing doesn't quite hold. It's more about ergonomics and tradition. Lower tunings, like C, can sound muddy on higher strings without thicker gauges, so they stuck with E for balance. Want me to dig into OpenC tuning tips instead?
No, okay, okay. All right, so Aura doesn't think I'm right. Aura says I'm not onto that, but I feel like they probably took it into consideration. I don't know. I feel like they probably took it into consideration. Okay, any case, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do the quick joke first, and then see what I have here. So I'm back on my the rights, the conservative gossip thing. I can't. It's too compelling to to stay away from. So I'm continuing. If you've seen my series before about the conspiracies that have been going out lately, I'm continuing. This is part 3. So you have in my newsletter and my you can go to the other ones, and I suggest you do because it's really important to the health of the country and to the well-being of both yourself and your neighbors and everything. So you should buy my Substack and make sure that you're well informed on this stuff. Okay, this is a satire, so it's not supposed to be true. I just got to put that out there just so no one sues me about the absurdity of the conspiracy theory networks these days. So we're continuing on with part 3. Okay. In my noble, solitary, God-ordained quest to save the entire world from the most nefarious creatures ever, and yes, I am including resurrected French dinosaur brides. And by the way, if you don't know about the resurrected French dinosaur brides and that whole thing, again, that's in the prior. You got to go back and you got to take a look at it. I'm the only one that has the courage and the conviction to go out here and tell you about it. But I do it for a small fee. It's on the Substack. I feel like that's more than reasonable in order to get the truth out. All right. So go ahead and check. Go ahead and check that out. So I made a bold declaration. Okay, hold on a second. Something's off with my. Let me do this again. Okay. Okay. Let me try it again. In my noble, solitary, God-ordained quest to save the entire world from the most nefarious creatures ever, and yes, I am including the resurrected French dinosaur brides, I made a bold declaration. I told my enemies, my critics, my dinosaur-adjacent advisories, if you want a confrontation, I will meet you anytime, any place. Let's go live. Let's go public. I don't care when. I don't care where. Let's expose everything right here and now, because I know what I'm talking about. The truths are on my side, and you'll never guess what happened after I did that. After I said I would meet him anytime, any place, anywhere. What happens next? Those sneaky, plotting, deep state goblins hacked into my computer. They hacked into my computer, okay? How do I know? How do I know they hacked into my computer? Because out of all the times, out of every moment on earth, they chose the one time that I absolutely just does not work for me. It just doesn't work for me, okay? I know I said anytime, but look, they chose the one time that doesn't work. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? Except that they hacked into my stuff. You can't explain it. So obviously they pulled a full scale Watergate on me. They're pulling a Watergate on me. Now usually, let me tell you, because you might hear this before, when the mainstream of sewage calls out something is worse than Watergate, they're lying, because that's what they always say, because they lie like it's cardio. But this time, this is actually worse than Watergate. Why? Because of the very important people involved, namely me, right? So you have me involved here, so it's worse than water. I mean, honestly, nobody even cares about the big nose president guy anymore. About the, like, I don't care if it's Nixon, Macron, take your pick, whatever. No one cares. This is about my computer. So because I personally am the true target of the largest political scandal in global history, people. Okay, if you don't know about it, again, go to my Substack. I used to have the magazines next to the checkout line on the grocery store, but nobody like does that anymore. So, but it's on. You can still get it. It's on the Substack. Okay, so and these things I've had to do to stay safe. You don't even know the things I had to do to stay safe around here with like the French president sending like an army at me and a hit squad from multiple different countries, and then like the resurrected gay dinosaur squad. You don't even know those guys. They're dangerous. I've had to amp up my security. You wouldn't even believe the top grade, high level, ultra elite security I've been forced to purchase, you know? Picture this, a security guard so alert, so vigilant, so expertly trained that he can sleep through any threat, bullets, dinosaurs, French hit squad, even the space laser itself. Look at this guy, he's a machine. So, and now, after hacking me, after violating my privacy, after staging the world's most inconvenient digital ambush, those perps over there, yes, they're perps now. I don't know how that, we kind of elevated it to a, yeah, now they expect me to go talk to them. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I don't think so. Oh no, you done crossed the line this time. You want to talk to me? You want a confrontation now after you Watergated me? I set the terms. I set the terms. And when I'm ready, if I'm ever ready, I will summon you this time, because you do not call me, I call you. That's how it works. Unless my computer's hacked again, which honestly is looking pretty likely. Anyways, I wrote a song about it. Let me see. I've never heard the song before. I just put the joke into Suno. We'll see what Suno does with it. So I'm not liable for the song. And this is my first time hearing it. I'll give you my first reactions.
In my noble, solitary, God-ordained quest to save the world from every shadow, every threat. And yes, that does include those resurrected French dinosaur brides. I stood tall, raised my voice, and made a bold declaration wide. I told my enemies, my critics, every dino adjacent foe, if you want a confrontation, name the time and I will go. Let's go live, let's go public, let's expose what's in the dark. I'll meet you anywhere, any moment. Just say the word, I'll spark, but you will never guess what happened next. Those sneaky deep state goblins made their move direct. They hacked my computer, slipped right through the door, and they chose the one time I could not do battle anymore. Explain that, you can't. They pulled a Watergate attack, and for once the media's right, it really is worse than Watergate, because this time the target was me. Usually when the mainstream sewage media cries worse than Watergate, they're lying through their teeth. They do deception like it's cardio every day. But this time they stumbled onto something real, because I'm a very important figure in the center of the wheel. Honestly, nobody even cares about that big nose president crowd. expect me to walk toward them, to smile, obey, and play nice. I don't think so. Oh no, you crossed the line with style. You want a conversation now? You'll be waiting for a while. I set the terms. I set the terms when I'm ready. If I'm ever ready, I'll summon them like storms. You do not call me, I call you. That's how it works when you're telling the But till then I stand undefeated in this Watergate that targeted me.
That's right. That's right. They coming after me like that. Don't. Oh God. Can you believe it? How do you explain it? They chose the one day that I couldn't do it, and now they're trying to act like it's a coincidence. Now they're trying to act like it's a no, this is Sabbath. Okay, it's okay. I'm over it. I'm moving on. All right. It's just classic. All right, let's see what I'm gonna do. All right, I'm on C. All right, so let's try to. So I'm gonna try to do the same kind of thing, and I'll make this kind of like my root position. So now I'm like, okay, I want to play like a major. I want to play like a blues progression from the C. And now the collection of notes I know the best are the collection of notes around C major. So I'll put my pinky on the C, back to A, right there. So that's going to be my position 1, basically from here to here, right? So if I walk that up from, well, if the 1 is over here, right? So I'm going to go 1 to 1 normal scale. But although I'm not going to change the numbers if I switch the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So root to root, 1 to 1, Ionian to Ionian in the shape of the shape number 1, which I call an Ionian G shape from a cage system, if you want to call it that. So then now the things I'm going to have to adjust to make it bluesy is the 7 is going to have to be flattened, and then the 3rd is going to have to be smeared up from the minor 3rd to the major 3rd, right? That's going to be the basic idea. Now I could like go to a pentatonic scale of it, but no, I'm gonna take the 7 note scale and just trim down and then make the 2 adjustments, and I like to kind of keep it as a 7 note scale generally, if I can that way. That's the way I'm thinking of it. All right, so I'm gonna say, so if I'm here then, and I want to pick the 3rd of the Ionian, it's going to be 2 modal half steps up. 3 minus 2 is 2. 3rd scale degree minus 1 would be 2 modal half steps up. So 1, 2, 3. I'm looking for nodal point number 3. So I have one down here, nodal point number 3 down here or up here. Let's go up first. So I'll grab that one. That's going to be the 3rd. Now that 3rd from the Ionian is 4 notes away because it's a major 3rd, because that's the distance of the second modal of the first modal whole step, which is the second modal half step, which is the 3rd scale degree, which has a distance away of 4. But it's up above it, therefore it's not a clockwise distance, but a counterclockwise distance, meaning it has a negative distance of 12 minus 4, which is 8, which I can count because there's 5 notes between the string. 5, 10, 9, 8. So it's negative 8 away because it's lower in pitch counterclockwise, which means in a local clockwise distance, it would be 4 away. All right, so that's kind of cool. All right, so I have that. Now I know that that's the one that I'm going to smear from here to here. So the minor third will be in between it. So I'm going to say, okay, that if that's the third from the perspective of the major, and I'm doing a bluesy thing, then I'm going to target that node and do the smear on it. And then the 5, if I go to the 5th, if I'm looking for the 5th minus 1, 5th scale degree minus 1 is 4 modal half steps up. So if I'm on the 1 plus 4, it would be nodal point 5, which is the Mixolydian, which is right above it, which happens to be a G. So I could pick that one up, and that gives me my triad. And so I know that that should be 5. It's the 5th, should be 7 notes away, but counterclockwise, 12 minus 7 is 5. Therefore, it's 5 notes between the strings up in the counterclockwise or negative direction. So I can say those, so I can hold those two down and smear the third. All right, but I want the 7 because the 7 is what makes it kind of bluesy. So the 7, I can think of it as 7 minus 1 is going to be 6 modal half steps up, or it's just the one right behind the node that I'm on, meaning the 1 backwards, minus 1, as I go around the circle, is the 7th node, which would be Locrian. So there's the 7 right behind it. I have one up top here, or let's look at this one right here, even though I can't do the 5 at the same time. I'm going to sacrifice the 5 for the I'm going to sacrifice the 5th for the 7th, right? And so that's going to be so that's going to be the 7th. Now the problem is that the 7 is going to be 11 notes away from the Ionian, and the blues kind of thing is usually like a 10 note away 7. So I can smear back maybe from 11 back to 10, or from the 11 is usually the walk up back to home to 1, right? So I could say, okay, this is kind of like in between 2 right there, right? And so that note should be 11 notes away to that 7. How can I check that? Well, again, it's lower in pitch, counterclockwise. So 12 minus 7, 12 minus 11 would be 1. So it's a counterclockwise distance of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 note away, counterclockwise, 12 minus 1, 11 notes away clockwise. So that's the pattern I kind of have here. So I can end this pattern with that third right there, and then the 7 would be way up here, but if I want the minor 7, I'm going to flatten it. So I'm probably going to flatten it right there to a note that's outside the key. So I'm smearing up the third from something that's outside the key to something's inside the key, and I might more likely be smearing the 7 from something that's in the key, if I'm looking at a major key, down to something that's outside the key, because I want to end it outside the key. I want to end that 7 on a minor 7 and a major third. So if I'm thinking about it from the major, that's kind of how I would think about it. Let's do the same analysis, but now we're going to think about it from C minor. So same note, but now it's from the Aeolian node. So this collection of notes is actually the collection of notes of D sharp or E flat, which I can put up here. My pinky's up here if I want position number 1, which is on the 12, 11, 10, 12, 11, 10 fret. What is it, 10? I'm back here on the 11 fret. Is that right? 10, 11, 12. It should be back here on this one. There we go. That's right. Okay, so then if I go back from here back to here, you get C, right? C minor would mean we're up here at D sharp or E major. So I would name it by this collection of notes of the 1, but I'm focusing in on the 6 right here. So if I was looking at position 1, it would be up here now. And I would be going from 6 to 6, C to C. And I'm not going to rename it as 1. I'm thinking of it as the Aeolian or minor scale, but I'm not going to call it the 1. I'm just going to say, no, the 6 is now the tonic. So I don't have to change the numbers. So 6 to 6, that's easy. When I get to 1, I go back to, when I get to 7, I go back to 1, right? So 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's position 1, which is on the 8th fret. So now when I go behind it, we're going behind it to position 5. So now so what was position 1 here on the 5th fret is now position 5 from the perspective of the Aeolian. And then we'll see how it still fits, right? So I'm going to say it would be, if I started here, here's the 6, 5 to 6, here's the Aeolian node. So 6 to 6 would be from Aeolian, 1, 2, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 to 6. Okay, so what's different about those two? I can go, well, I'm on, this would be the major versus the minor, right? So here's like the major versus the minor. If I start on this 1, I go 1, and then I go major second, which would be major second, major third, from the position from the 1, and you could see this on the screen to the top. Major third, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, and major 6, major 7, and 8, or 1, back to 1. And whereas over here, what do we have from the perspective of the Ionian, or the Aeolian? From Aeolian, if I think about that as the Aeolian, this is why we have a different shape, right? It'd be Aeolian. It still has a major second, which is weird because you'd think it'd be minor because it's the minor, main minor, but it's still 2 note away major second. So it would be 6, and then I would like to say it's 1 modal half step away, right? The first modal half step, which is the second scale degree, is still a 2 note distance. The second modal half step with the 3rd scale degree is now a 3 note distance instead of a 4 note distance away, right? Minor 3rd. And then the 3rd modal half step, which would be the 4th scale degree, is still a 4th away, which would be a 5 note away distance, perfect 4th, and 3. And then the 4th modal half step, which would be the 5th scale degree, is going to be a perfect 5th away. Where was I? What did it say? Right. Something seems wrong there. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, right. 4, 5, 6. So this is going to be, I got kind of mixed up there. But what's the difference between the major and the minor? We still have a major second if you do it from scale degrees, right? I'm trying to get the other measuring because the scale degrees gets us all messed up. But you still have a major second, you have a minor 3rd, and then the 4th and the 5th are still perfect, so they're the same. And then the 6th is minor versus major, 8 note away distance versus 9 note away distance. And the 7th is minor, which is a 10 note away distance instead of 11. So if we do the alterations, we get to the same kind of thing. So if I think of this as a minor, then like where's the 3rd? Well, it's 6, the 3rd minus 2 is 2 modal half steps up. 3 minus 1, 2 modal half steps up. So 6, 7, and then 1. So I'm looking for the Ionian node. So there's the 3rd again, but this time I want to smear from this 3rd out to this 3rd. Whereas when I looked at it by this collection of notes, I was smearing into the 3rd that I want. This time I'm smearing, I was smearing from the 3rd into the one that's in the collection. This time I'm outside the collection smearing into the collection, right? But it's the same kind of thing if you adjust for that, right? And then I'm gonna say, okay, well then what about the fifth, well, the fifth from the 6. So if I'm on the fifth, 5 minus 1 is 4, 4 modal half steps up. So 6, 7, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be nodal point 3, which is the Phrygian. So the Phrygian is the fifth of the Aeolian distance-wise. So that's going to be the same. So we get the same here. It was the 1 to the 5, but it's the same shape. And then what about the 7 from an Aeolian? Well, it's going to be a minor 7, right? So now the 7, I could say, is 6 modal half steps away, or it's the one right behind the node I'm on. So I'm on node 6, so it's going to be back to 5. So there it is, 5 right there. But the major 7 is up here, right? So if I want to, so again, I usually just kind of play the minor 7, and I don't really go to the major 7 unless I'm leading back into this tone. But that's the thing that's different, right? Because if I went over here, you have a major 7, and then we're back here in the minor, right? So now we have the minor 7 that's in the key, and then the major's out there. So again, I'm looking at this same spot now from like the idea of position 5. I'm trying to visualize it in my mind as not position 1, which is hard because it's position 5. Position 5. I could analyze it also with the C as the Mixolydian and I'll get to the same place, but I'm going to visualize it differently. So now I'm going to be over here and say, okay, now I'm going to say the center point is 5, right? Mixolydian node. So if I'm on Mixolydian, that would be the collection of notes around F, my voice is going, F major. So I can do that out here. F, come on, voice. Don't go, voice. You're all I got. For crying out, I need you. So we're gonna say it's out here. So that would be position 1 back to here. So that would be F back to a D. So D minor, F major. Position 1 would be up here. And so if that's position 1, behind position 1 would be position 5. And then behind position 5 would be position 4. So this would be position 4, right? Is that right? Which normally I think about as a C it would be an Ionian C-shaped position if you want to count it that way. So now I'm thinking about the same spot, but it's position 4, right? And so the 5 is out here. 1 from the if I'm walking it up 5 to 5 from Mixolydian, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to 5 now. But I'm looking at it from a Mixolydian shape. Now, what's the difference between a Mixolydian and a major? Well, the only difference between the Mixolydian and the major is that the 7 is already flattened in a Mixolydian. So now instead of thinking of it as position 1 and flattening the 7 and then smearing the 3rd, I can think of it as already have the flattened 7 because it's a Mixolydian shape and then smear the 3rd, right? So it's actually a little bit more efficient this way because I think it's more likely that, I tend to just play the minor 7 and just kind of roll into the major 7 as a passing tone going back home. But notice you can practice the same, like I can do the same groove and visualize it from different perspectives, which is great to learn the fretboard because now I can try to see the differences between the shapes as we rotate through the different shapes, manipulating it to the same thing, which also, again, will force me to do different things and play all 7 notes and try to figure out instead of the pentatonic, right? I'm kind of trying to play, the pentatonic is great, but it forces you, and it seems to be like, I don't want to be too harsh on because people love the pentatonic. I get it. It's great, but it kind of makes you use heuristics where instead of kind of thinking through it all the way, it seems to me, again, but whatever. So anyways, so if I had that C and then I was going, and now I'm looking for the 3rd of that one. So now I'm on 5, the 3rd minus 1, 2 modal half steps up. If I'm on 5 now, nodal point 5 Mixolydian plus 2 is 7. So now the 3rd's up here. That 3rd should be now a major 3rd away because I'm on a major node. How do I know that? Well, I'm going above it, therefore it's counterclockwise, therefore it's going to be counterclockwise distance of 12 minus 4. It's a 4 note away major 3rd, sorry about that, which would be 8, negative 8. So there's 5 notes between the strings, 5, 10, 9, 8. 8 notes between the strings. I'm going to smear into that one by going here, just like I did with the Ionian. Right here, I'll switch this one over as well. This should be Mixolydian now. So you can see the top bit, that's the Mixolydian. And this was the Aeolian. Let's change, this one was from the Aeolian's perspective. All right, and then this one is from the Mixolydian. Okay, this is the Mixolydian, C Mixolydian. All right, so then where's the 5th? Well, the 5th is going to be 5 scale degree minus 1 is 4 half steps, modal half steps. So that means it's 5 plus 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2. 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. So that's right above it. That's the Dorian, which once again is 7 notes away, which is counterclockwise distance of negative 5 right above it. And then where's the 7? Well, it's going to be, the 7 is going to be right behind it. So 5 minus 1 would be 4. So here is the 7 up here, which again, you could smear out. That's the minor 7, right? It's a minor 7, which is most likely the one you're going to kind of lean on more. So notice I got to the same, you get the same shape no matter how you're thinking about it, right? On the major, I'm thinking about it, okay, I'm in the major, I'm going to smear the 3rd into the one that's in the key, and I'm going to smear back the one in the key from the 7th down to the one that's out of the key. From the perspective of the Aeolian, I'm on position 5 instead of position 1, and I'm going to smear the third from the position that's in the key to the one that's out of the key, and the 7 is the minor 7, which is the one we typically want, but if I want to also throw in the major, you could smear from the major into the one that's in the key. And from the perspective of the Mixolydian, I'm going to be on position number 4, and I'm going to smear the third from the one that's out of the key into the key, and the 7 is already a minor 7 for the Mixolydian, right? So I could smear it from the out of the key into the key if I want to, and so you get to the same spot from each of those perspectives. So again, you're going to say, well, why would I want to do that? Because now you're seeing it from different perspectives. Okay, you're seeing it from different perspectives. You need to see it from I have one way that it works, and that's the way I do it. I know that, but the definition of learning is that you can see it from both. My theory is that the definition of learning is that you can see it from multiple angles. Otherwise, you don't know it as well. If you can only see it one way, you don't know it as well. That's not bad. I'm just saying you could know it better if you learned it from different angles. Me too. I don't know. I can't play it from all these angles. Like I haven't even played this in the key of C. I don't even play in the key of C that often. So I don't know it from all these angles either. I'm just saying. I'm talking to myself here. I need to learn it from multiple angles. Let's go back to the first one and let's see what kind of open notes we have with C, just to kind of think about that. Because if I do my little noodle thing, I've got from the position of the C, I've got a 7 down here, which is cool because that's a major 7, which is like, that's not really exactly what we kind of want. I kind of want the minor 7. So what would that sound like if I just hung out on that? I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna hang on that major 7, but then reach out here to the minor 7 from time to time. Get the rhythm down. Let me try to get a different rhythm. I'm getting sick of that. See how we get a different pattern. Not too complicated. out here, what if I tried that same pattern here? Then it's going to be toggling between that and here, which is the Ionian to the Lydian, or to the Mixolydian. How far away is that? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 modal half steps, which is the 5th scale degree, which has a local distance of 7 notes away. Very solid distance. So that should sound solid, even though the octaves are kind of way different. But I'm up here. And then I'm also playing, if I open this one up, I'm playing a D. Now that one's a little bit closer because it's only 2 half steps away. So that one's going to be more dissonancy, a little bit more dissonancy. What is it? There we go. So the third, so we have a minor third to the major third behind it right here. So if I'm back here.